You're listening to 3, the podcast. Hello and welcome to 3, a podcast where 3 filmmakers get together to discuss movies.
Join us as we dive in to figure out how these movies work and what they can teach us about the art of filmmaking.
Whether you are a filmmaker yourself or you just love to nerd out on the art of cinema, we invite you to take this journey with us. This is a film discussion by filmmakers. Today we are discussing the movie The Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Laughton and written by James Agee, starring Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters, and Lillian Gish. Please be sure that you've watched the movie before listening any further because this is sure to be full of spoilers. Now let's get into it on 3.
Jason, what's on your mind?
What? Why are you even laughing?
You leaned into the microphone like I was like, "What's on your mind?" And you leaned
You were
in.
so ready, Jason.
You were ready.
Well, I'm just going to come out with it. What do you think of TikTok?
This has been my experience with TikTok, all right? Jason, a few months ago, my wife and I came to visit you over on the other side of the coast of our state that you live on, and you were all into this new thing called TikTok, and so we made a TikTok video.
I remember that. There was an era of Jason went 5 years without doing anything on social media, then had like a 1 week stint where he's like posted TikToks with people I didn't know, and then he went back dark. That's my view of Jason's relationship to TikTok. Is this true?
You listen, I don't want you to be jealous because I made TikToks with other people.
Oh, don't worry. I wouldn't have participated.
I still care about you.
Okay, TikTok is my view of TikTok is it might be the one that just passes me by. You know, when you're getting older and new social media, because like it's like, okay, there's Facebook and like, yeah, you hop on it and you hop on everything. And I wonder if TikTok is the one that maybe I'll just won't participate in, or maybe it'll get so big that I won't have a choice. But TikTok, to me, I went on TikTok and it was overwhelming. The user experience was just videos nonstop. Like Instagram has like some breath in it, like just a photo, okay, there's a video, funny video, like they explode.
There's white space in between.
Yeah, it's just like
photo.
noise. It's crazy. And then my second thought was, these are like 16-year-old girls just like shaking their butts. I just felt so twisted. Like, are we all like, are we all participating in this? This feels so crazy. I kind of felt like a conservative dad being like, what is this? So I haven't been back on. My wife has been really bored and learning the dances, and that is extremely extremely cringy. I do not approve.
Does your wife have a TikTok channel?
No. Well, she probably has an account, but I don't think she has a channel. She doesn't post. Unless...
Well, if she's learning the dances, what is she learning the dances for?
I don't know. Girls just like that stuff. There's something about... girls are just drawn to, like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Also, I think TikTok is so big because no one else in the world, like, people didn't know how to edit videos, like, to put music behind videos.
Yeah.
And then an app comes along and just does it for you so easy and convenient. Makes so much sense why it's a big deal.
Yeah. But what's interesting, this is one of the things I kind of figured that you would have that type of reaction to TikTok. You know, the kids these days, I'm not sure if you're down with the kids. Like I don't
know. Which kids? Which ones?
But okay, so this is my observation. Short form video is something that, like, I didn't understand a few years ago. I just could not understand why people would rather watch YouTube than TV. But there's like a whole generation of people that were raised on Vine and YouTube and Facebook videos, you know, like, and so I think that there's kind of the surprise of the success, or at least the hype around Quibi. I guess I'm not even sure if it can be called success yet, but the hype that's around what's happening with Quibi, but it's all this kind of short form storytelling, or shorter form than I'm used to, at least. So I wonder, because TikTok, yeah, sure, it's a bunch of people shaking their booties on the screen, sometimes based on, I guess, what your preferences are. So you might want to check those.
I keep getting all these pop-ups on my computer. I don't know what's going on.
That's funny.
But there's like so many like kind of, it's almost like a short films popping up on TikTok in like different capacities, like really funny stuff. And so I'm wondering if this is just like a passing fad, because that's what I've just assumed for a long time, that short form video is like a passing fad, but it seems like it's not going anywhere.
No.
It kind of seems like it's sticking around. And so I was wondering what your thoughts were on TikTok, because I think it's actually part of that short form medium where there's actually there's some pretty good content on there and some pretty decent quick form storytelling. It's quite funny, but it's kind of like the training ground for, I'm wondering if this is where film is kind of going, like to these short form creators that know how to make something really quick, or it's gonna lead to kind of some other discovery in film. Anyways, I think you should just keep your fingers on the pulse of it.
Or if it's just like the best, like if child predators are just loving this. That's my view of TikTok. There's some creepy dudes, not myself.
These are two extreme views of one platform. I just gonna
No,
say.
I have no, like, I'm not even like opinionated about TikTok. I just like go on it and half the videos are just so cringy, like so, like just super insecure.
Yeah.
And like there's a really weird culture of everyone doing the same thing. So my critique, YouTube felt like it honored originality, but like because TikTok is half meme, half video, it's just hopping on that current trend. It's like it's not, it'll create filmmakers, but they're not going to be unique or original. Maybe, I don't know. The
whole platform is based on current trends,
for sure.
So like it's doing that on purpose. It's weird, man. Like it's just weird.
Isn't it set up too so that like when it's almost like super quick viral, like trains almost, like
yeah.
So one thing goes viral, but then everyone can jump on that train for like a day, and then the next day it's something else. Is that kind of what it's like?
Yeah.
Yes.
That blows my mind.
That's why that's why I've been so. Drake made the lamest move of his entire career with his latest song. It's called
Made it for TikTok.
Yeah, he just like, it was a thirst trap for TikTokers, and it's just when you're the biggest artist in the world, and you make a song with, I knew you hear the song, and it's like left foot, right foot, slide, or whatever.
Wait,
I knew he was just like, okay, please TikTok.
One more time, could you sing that for us?
I knew he was like,
left foot, right foot,
I can put it on here. We can all listen to it. No, he was just like begging 14 to 18-year-olds to make a dance out of the song, because his new song is totally just like a, please turn this into a viral dance. The way he wrote it, it's just
what's
so
it
lame. Tootsie slide or Tootsie?
I think I know this. Like, let me listen to it, because it might actually be.
It is all over TikTok.
Yeah, it's only like a little piece of it.
Yeah, it's like right foot up, left foot slide.
Yeah, this is a very big viral trend on TikTok right now. I don't know, but I'm kind of into it. How TikTok kind of came about for me, I'm just gonna tell you really quick so I can justify myself, and so that you won't judge me as much. I had just been deported from Australia, and I was traveling through Europe on my way back to the US and visiting some friends in Germany, and out of nowhere they're like, let's start a TikTok channel and let's start doing TikToks. So I didn't even know what TikTok was. I thought TikTok was like a dating app. And I was like, I'm not so into that. But they're like, download it now. You know.
Sorry, where are they from?
Germany.
Okay.
I apologize to my German friends. But anyway, so I downloaded it, and we just ran out into the woods and started making like dumb viral videos. They kind of showed me the basics of it. And we started getting like, we'd like sit there and watch like 1,000 views, 3,000 views, 4,000 views. And, you know, like they just kind of would get popular for a short amount of time. And it was just kind of fun. So that was my week of doing TikTok videos. And then William and Felicia came down to where I live, and we did one of the TikToks. And then I quit after that. Now I just watch.
Does TikTok monetize like YouTube? Or is it just people get big and then they wear clothing in the TikTok and that's how they make money? Like, is it? Do you get paid?
I
per
don't
view?
know. No, I do think that you can get sponsorship like for I'm seeing like a whole bunch of Bang energy drinks in TikToks, and I'm pretty sure it's just product placement.
So I could see that, like product placement, wearing a shirt, doing that. But they're not like, it's not like how YouTube 100,000 clicks is $1 or whatever. However YouTube does it. It's not like that. I don't. Is it?
I don't really know.
It's so
I need to
genius
get
though.
in that
Imagine being like
space.
YouTube and be like, oh,
Yeah.
we're paying these people too much, and then you start a new app and you have like a certain amount of years where you just don't have to pay anyone out. So I don't. Is TikTok the same people? Like, is it the Illuminati as well, or
If it's not, it will be.
Bernie Sanders owns TikTok?
I knew it. He's doing that 2C slide. I don't know. Anyways, but those are just my thoughts on short form video on TikTok. So
Short
wanted to get you
form
right.
is a
That's
big deal.
interesting.
I just wonder. Yeah, I think there's money to be made. It's an opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I think no matter how much we hold on to longer form, eventually, those 18-year-olds will grow up and take over our market, and it'll change.
But the weirdest thing about our market, it's not our market, but documentary was dead for so long. Like, that was like I would say not a trendy. If like you look at the trend of short form content, and then Tiger King being the biggest thing in the world, like that,
That's
no one would have
it's
predicted
crazy.
that like documentary
yeah,
TV shows, like that was what was like on a weird channel as a kid, and now those are huge. So I don't know where the
Right.
world's going, because I couldn't have predicted that.
interesting
Crazy
stuff.
kids these days.
I know,
Kids
and
these
like,
days. That's so,
do you guys like think the world is flat? Also, because that's what I learned this week. Did you guys see that that footage released by the Pentagon showing alien aircraft?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
is that really released? No
Well,
way.
it's
can that be
released. I think
by
it was released by the Pentagon or something. But then I think the main person pushing it out it's like this. It has a name that sounds scientific, but it's just Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. It's like some.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's like that
He's
organization
the
of
first
like
person I
some-
thought of when I saw that. I was like, oh, Tom DeLonge's probably like, dude, I knew it.
what's it called? Tom DeLonge organization.
Stars and something in stars?
Oh, To the Stars Academy of Arts
To
and
the
Science.
Stars.
Yeah. So he was the one.
I'm fascinated with Tom DeLonge. I'm going to make a movie about him one day, all right?
And it's going to be called "I'm Fascinated by Tom DeLonge."
It's crazy. I was
It'll
talking
be
with
a
friends. I was
docuseries.
talking with
Every episode will be 2 minutes long, all right?
it's crazy talking with friends how big Angels and Airwaves was. There was that slice of time where
Yeah.
it was like the
Mhm,
universal
yeah.
big band, and
It's
it like
true.
was kind of soft enough that youth groups started using it, and like youth conferences were all using like Angels and Airwaves. So it was just this like and then everyone kind of, it wasn't as risky as Blink-182. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
huge for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They were massive. We should get into this movie.
Yeah. What's the movie this week? Who picked it?
I picked the movie this week. I picked The Night of the Hunter, as we all know. I'm just going to give you guys a quick synopsis of the film, as usual. So, The Night of the Hunter, made in 1955. The Reverend Harry Powell is a religious fanatic and serial killer who targets women who use their sexuality to attract men. Serving time in prison for car theft, he meets condemned murderer Ben Harper, who confesses to hiding $10,000 in stolen loot. Released from jail, Powell is obsessed with finding the money, and he tracks down Harper's widow, Willa, and her 2 children, John and Pearl.
These synopses always shed light on one part of the movie that I didn't quite catch every time you guys read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just-
Wait. Can we just back up for a second? Where did you read this synopsis?
I Googled a bunch of different ones. So I went on Wikipedia first, and then IMDb, and then Letterboxd, and none of those were to my liking. So then I literally just Googled The Night of the Hunter synopsis, and one came up. I don't know what the source is, but
Oh,
I just read that one. Because
That's
I was
so
trying to
funny.
find one, like a shorter one, because, we haven't been digging the long ones.
And mine for Cold War was super short, so I don't even know what.
I like the short ones, but I guess my question was, he kills women for their seductive nature or something?
Sexuality.
Well, like
yeah,
I
that's
knew he
sexuality-
was like this weird paradox preacher guy, but I didn't really. He didn't. That wasn't as clear that he was like that's how he justified his preying on women was because they were immoral.
The one scene where she's wearing like a muumuu, which back then might have been a little risque,
Super
But
risque.
watching it, it was like, oh, okay. Like she like walks in and she's like, Harry. Then he's like, you sinning woman.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just like, what is happening? And she like falls down into the pillow dramatically.
Oh yeah,
I
that was the
just
scene where
laughing. I was like,
and then he
there's-
almost like he raises his knife all up epic, right? He's like holding his knife above his.
No. That's later.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it-
no, that's later. But in that first like wedding night scene, he goes, a woman is made for
Right.
birthing
Do you want
children
more kids?
and not
Yeah.
for lusting sexually or something. It's something so weird. I was like, I think they're trying to make a point here, but it's from the 50s, so I don't know what that point is.
What'd you guys think of it? Let's start with
Let's get into first impressions here. Jason, you seem to
I'm
have a lot
always
to say about
first.
this film.
I'm always first. Let Caleb
All right,
go
Caleb,
first.
Caleb, you're up.
I mean, first impressions are movies from that are this old are. I don't think you take them as seriously as they want you to. They're just charming when movies are this old. So I think the scenes that probably were terrifying to everyone in the theater or were like so suspenseful weren't quite to me. It was cute. It was good. I thought that the characters felt pretty original. Like I liked the bad guy, the pastor who whatever he's up to. I thought he was interesting. The kids. Some of the lighting was pretty sweet. I really liked when the like it was like silhouettes outside of like the mountains, like the sun like backlighting things, and then inside where they were silhouetted as well. I don't know what I would give. It's weird to rate movies that are the like there's huge importance with a movie like this, and you can see it. Like what they were up to, for sure was ahead of the times. Like that was some early aerial photography for sure. Like they like
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that hit me.
that's got to be like one of the first times that was done. Well, that couldn't have been convenient
I
to
don't
get in
know.
a plane.
You underestimate. We're like 50 years into narrative filmmaking at this point. That's a long time. I'm just saying this because I always go into these older films not expecting much, and then they always like blow me away with their techniques they're using. So I feel like every single one has something like this drone shot in the beginning where I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even want to rate this movie. It's important, but like my viewer experience is like, okay. What I often wonder we can get into it, but this is a film noir, right?
Yeah, it's a film noir,
Kinda?
but it's on like it's like on the tail end. Like some might even say it's not kind of a part of that whole era of film noir because that was kind of 1940s through the 50s. But I think it was kind of dying out at this point, and I think that's why you kind of see definitely strong noir, but then kind of like high key day scenes, mixed in.
So noir by like visual style more than subject matter.
Yeah, I think like the cinematographer was a big noir cinematographer. So
anyways, I'll stop talking. I don't know. I'll give it like a 3 of 5 or something. Like I'm so loose going into this conversation that I don't have much opinion on it. I don't want to give it like I've seen movies in this era that like felt amazing. This was good, but I don't know what to give it. So maybe Jason can take it away. I don't know.
This movie, I don't even know what to do with it. It's like, it reminds me of like a sideshow, like it's just weird. And this does not feel like the movies of the day, which is kind of unique to me, which I like about it. But at the same time, it's just so odd, like I think that it seemed like a normal movie, and then it seemed like it was trying to be a noir, and then it seemed like it was trying to be scary, and it seemed like it was trying to be a morality play. It just kind of went in all sorts of different directions. I'm kind of relieved to find out that this was the director's one and only film contribution, and that it was a commercial failure. It doesn't mean that I didn't like it. It means that I was not moved. I don't really know. I think that I'm going to have to give this one a 2 stars out of 5 because I don't know. Actually, the odd scenes to me were the most interesting. I wish they would have made the whole movie like that. So, by the way, the odd scenes that I'm talking about are that scene where he does raise up the knife in the bedroom and his wife is like laying in bed and she's like kind of talking like she's a zombie. One of the other scenes is when they first get into the canoe, the girl starts singing, but it's really like a older woman's voice.
Yeah.
I loved that. Oh my god.
It just seemed...
They just went for it.
Well, no, like I thought that's kind of what gave it its odd character. And then that like crotchety old lady at the end who's like, get inside the house or I'll whip you with this switch, you know, and she was great. Like I love that character, but it just felt like I loved the weird odd parts of it that were few and far between. The rest of it was just kind of an overacting reverend that wasn't all that scary to me. That's how I felt about it. I know. I feel bad.
Okay. No,
I
it's
do,
all good.
but maybe something to ponder on, Caleb. I do want to know what you think is important about this film.
Well, whenever I'm talking about old movies, I can't help but wonder, like, what did they bring to the industry that we're all we're obviously standing on the shoulders of all these movies that have already been made. So for me just to like be so hard on them and be like, oh, well, I wasn't scared. It's like I watched Fight Club 10 years too late, and by the time Fight Club had already like that narrative of whatever, it was the same person. Like I didn't like Fight Club because I watched it way too, like so many movies had come out that bit it, you know? So by the time I watched Fight Club, I wasn't getting the right experience. So that's why I'm wondering that if it's an important movie. I don't know why it is. I'm assuming there's something important about it. It's stuck around this long. What did you think of it, Will?
Yeah.
I actually really, really liked it. I think I've learned to watch these older films kind of really trying to watch it from that perspective of that era and kind of like what you guys are talking about, maybe the impact it's made today. And I felt like this film has got to be it's so underrated. I'm like, why aren't we hearing about this movie more? As a horror film, I got to admit too, I haven't seen a lot of horror films from this time period. I felt like there was so much going on. Like I've seen that done today. Like I've seen that influence in horror films throughout the years for sure. And I couldn't help feel, I guess, that this film was one of the first ones to kind of be doing some of these things with horror and suspense. I thought that Harry Powell should be referred to like one of the greatest villains in cinema history. Like, I don't know why this dude isn't talked about more. Like, he's up there with Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men for sure. Man, I can kind of even see I thought he was so intriguing with the love and hate tattoos. And to me, it felt so, not ahead of its time, but it felt like what it was doing must have been so experimental for that time.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Those were kind of some of my first thoughts as I was watching.
What would you rate it?
I would rate it a 4 out of 5. I loved even like the story. I thought the story was really intriguing and good, but I do think it gets really distracted, and I don't mind the weirdness. I mean, like as soon as it starts off with like a lady sharing Bible stories to kids floating in space, I mean, I thought it was going to be a lot weirder, honestly.
Well, yeah. Okay, with movies like this, my thought with movies from eras like this or this movie is I always wonder how self-aware they are. Like if they're trying, are they just trying to be cool? And then nowadays this is kind of charming. Are they trying, you know, with, I don't know.
It seemed like someone was trying to be super edgy for the day.
Did it? Or were they just like is that just how it came out? Like, were they just was it just trying to be dramatic? And then we see it as, oh, that was an interesting choice of him holding the knife up. They're not trying to be artistic. I think, like, that wasn't what the culture was like. Like people were just surviving back then. There wasn't like pretentious artists, was there? Like what? I don't know how aware. Like what? It's just I don't know.
I think that you can kind of usually tell the difference between someone trying to fail at drama and someone trying to push the envelope. And for the 1955. I think that there was a lot of things in here trying to push the envelope, like especially those wide shots, like when the kids were going down the river, there was like a frog in the foreground. And
so many animals.
Two bunnies shots in the foreground.
So many animals.
These
I love when the owl comes up and you see a little string attached to its neck going off the screen.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's hilarious.
Can I just tell you, as soon as I heard the owl and then like the camera panned over to the owl, it seems like a short film that I assigned to all of my film students that come through, and there's a line in there that says like they heard owls before they died or something, and there's always this hoo hoo, just a cheesy version of an owl. And every time I saw and heard an owl in this movie, I thought of that really bad short film. Like it's making fun of itself and it's making fun of the genre. So I don't know, man. I think that they were trying to be edgy
so much.
It's just
All
weird.
of your
to,
film
it's
students.
weird to see.
Wait, did it like?
Yeah, what was this film's impact? Like, is that a noted thing? That what was going on at the time? What other movies came out like that year? I just need to have some sort of reference point.
Same, because that's what I was feeling like, and that's why I kind of disclaimed that I don't know a lot about the horror films being made in that day. But I was super impressed with the way it handled suspense and just like horrific elements, I guess.
I'm looking up. Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think you're right.
Well, no, I don't know. Like,
there was. Okay, here's the one thing that I can see that was an impact made from this movie, and I don't know if it was this movie, but him singing the same song, and that song becoming being like a threatening thing over time.
Yeah,
that reminded me of what's that? That's really common in horror now, but probably for the time that was a really, really take a worship song and make it, or like a gospel song and make it kind of scary, and him always singing, and that's what's haunting the kids. That's something that I think change was an important part from this movie.
Actually, kind of going off that, what I loved about this movie and about the preacher as like a villain is that old time religion is so creepy to me. It honestly is. and you can spin it into a horror film so easily, and there's so much to pull from it. There's so much you can pull from old religion that you could spin into like a creepy horror film, and they did it in this film, which I don't know, I loved it. It worked so well for me, like having this preacher type character who's really just this maniacal, insane, hearing from God, quote unquote, of who he's gonna go and murder and steal from next. Like, that's scary.
Yeah,
it's like I could see some mentally ill person doing that today, honestly, and using like God as an excuse.
Yeah, and the creepy lady, Mrs. Spoon, that she was like just this kind of religious nut that, that was so blinded by Harry when he came into town, kind of forcing Willa, kind of putting Willa together. That character for me was hilarious because you saw a progression for her, and at the very end of the movie, she was like screaming for this guy to be hanged.
Yeah.
But that creepy religious community was definitely a good use of that from the 50s.
It reminded me of There Will Be Blood and the preacher in that movie, played by Paul Dano. Eli, I think his name is. Paul Thomas Anderson had to have been inspired by this movie for that character. Like I said, it's this old religion that you can kind of just spin into like such interesting characters.
Yeah, that character was cool. Like that was the most interesting character for sure.
Oh, it's worth mentioning too that this was a movie based off of a novel that was based off of a real serial killer too. So just like going forward in our discussions, I feel like it's important to kind of know that.
The problem I think I have with it is it's coming up against some really big hitters in the noir genre from years earlier that were so strong. This doesn't feel revolutionary in the area of noir to me. It doesn't feel revolutionary in the area of acting to me. It does feel like really great as far as, maybe cinematography or some of the interesting ways that they filmed it, but some of the sets were pretty god-awful. Like, so that's why I'm really trying to figure, I really am. I try to open my heart, and I'm trying to figure out why this movie is like, I don't know, has any accolades. But just to give you some context, all right? This film was made in 1955. Sunset Boulevard came out in 1950, 5 years earlier.
Wow, yeah.
Double Indemnity came out in 1944. So, what, 11 years before this one.
Would you consider those horror? Or I haven't seen Double Indemnity, but is Sunset Boulevard considered a horror film?
These are noir films.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can consider this a horror film. Is that why? Is this considered like one of the early horror films?
Oh, well, I mean, it's gotta be. If it's not, then I totally misread the movie and I'm dropping my stars. But to me, I was scared. I was like,
sorry, you were
The
scared?
suspense was getting me. I was scared at times.
Okay.
Like, it was getting to me. And that's why I rated it high, because I was like, this dude is creepy. The preacher. And they were utilizing like horror techniques that are just so
I
like,
know.
you almost don't even want to use them now.
The only
But
problem with like every time I could almost get behind the suspense, like I could tell that he could have caught the kids. Like I saw the one scene where the kids are in the basement. I think it probably inspired Home Alone, but when the shelf lands on his head and then he chases after the kids and then slips on like a jar, and then he's just chasing the kids with his arms straight. But he could have got the kids, or he's like in the mud and he's like he could have got them, but they just kind of like thought, oh yeah, that's believable. Like that's what would always happen to me as soon as like the suspense was almost working, as I just couldn't suspend my disbelief. But then I'm like easier on it 'cause I'm like, okay, well, it's an old movie.
I'm not getting where you guys are getting the suspense from.
Well, but I'm saying like you can see like if you were in the theater at that time that's what they were doing. I did not get. I mean, William got scared.
I wasn't like actually scared.
No,
but
William, you said that you said, and I quote,
some
I got nightmares.
Let's check the transcripts one more time.
You said,
okay,
I got
go back.
nightmares, and I couldn't sleep for.
And I wet my pants.
Yeah, I peed my diaper.
I'm gonna cut this out of the podcast, but yeah, I had to call Felicia and tell her, "Hey,
Caleb volunteers to edit this podcast."
I'm editing this one. Oh no, I can't. I'm really busy.
But so I wonder what you guys aren't getting though, because even on IMDb, it's got an 8 out of 10 stars. Like, and even why I picked this movie, I didn't really say in the beginning, but it keeps coming up in like lists or articles or whatever as I just study film in general. Every once in a while, I see it come up.
If someone educated me on why it's important, I probably would think it's important. But just like as a peer viewer,
I know that one thing that's referenced a lot is the kind of porch scene towards the end of the movie, the standoff between Miss Cooper and the preacher, and she's in the rocking chair with the shotgun, which phenomenal scene. The way they Ruby comes down with the candle and it kind of lights up the shades so you can't see the preacher, and then she blows it out and he's gone. Like,
wow.
Man, dude, that's so well done. And that's when I was so terrified. I had to press pause. I had to go and put on a cartoon, guys.
Oh wow!
Just so I felt better.
You don't watch movies much, eh?
I just missed it. Like, how did I? I just didn't see that it was horror at all. Like I kind of watched it and I'm like, all right, come on, guys, let's pick up the action somewhere. You know, like I didn't find it scary at all. Like I didn't even see horror elements in it. But it might have been just because you know how you get in one frame of mind or one frame of thinking. Like, so to me, I wasn't watching a horror film at all. I was watching a noir drama.
Yeah,
you know, crime noir drama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not really like the classic noir. I think the only way it can really be compared to noirs is in its cinematography. I guess the traditional noirs were kind of more crime stories, and this isn't really. To me, it's very much like No Country for Old Men, where you almost have this villain who's as much of the main character as the main character, and he's just kind of roaming around, and you're like just terrified of what he can bring.
Because this is pre serial killer territory timing when they made this, so it would be a very scary notion that a guy had killed 20 people, or just going from town to town killing women. There's just some really like uninformed. There's some funny changes in characters that just didn't make any sense to me. Like how he brainwashed the mom so quickly. It was just like, what?
Yeah.
Things like
really,
things
I read
like
that as like religious manipulation, though.
I did too.
And I believed it.
But
it was so quick.
It was so quick, and then it was like,
true.
Things like that. I was kind of like made it cute rather than scary.
Yeah, I hear you, but I do think you guys are, and I'm gonna defend the movie a little bit here. I think you guys are viewing it and from a modern perspective when you're saying these things.
And that's what I'm
criticisms.
So when we get into rating
it's
I have to put this on my letterbox beside all the other movies that I love, not all from this modern time. I'm not, but like, do I just discredit everything wrong with the movie because it's from a certain time? And what Jason was more getting at was that, well, no, because there was movies that came out of this time that killed it, that do stand up. So so we can't just throw it all under the rug, because it's an
But
old movie.
I would disagree. I'm not looking at it from the perspective of like my modern thinking of movies or storytelling, because I watch movies from this era. I appreciate movies from this era. I actually really like movies from this era. This movie felt disjointed to me in comparison to its predecessors that came 10 years earlier. It felt like he was trying to push the envelope or to be some sort of revolutionary filmmaker. Really, like, honestly, I do not think that there would be any positive reviews from this if Robert Mitchum were not the lead character, because Robert Mitchum is what carries the whole movie, and he was quite a famous actor. Now, like, I think the cinematography, don't get me wrong, I think the cinematography is awesome, and I think that's what, from what I'm reading, it's known for its cinematography and for Robert Mitchum's odd playing of a character. And so, but would that cinematography stand if it didn't have Robert Mitchum in it? I don't know.
Well, I think so if it's the same cinematographer.
It's just,
but I get what you're saying.
well, yeah, you can have a great cinematographer, but if it doesn't have that equation, it's never going to see the light of day. You know, if it doesn't have that right thing,
Yeah.
I think Robert Mitchum kind of brought some of the firepower to this, which then highlighted the cinematographer's talent or skill. So I'm comparing it to the movies of the day, not through a modern lens, but but I enjoyed the oddity part of it.
What I always
But-
wonder is was the odd parts on purpose, or were they just acts? Like, that's why I just don't know. Like, with like, with trends or whatever, or like, like I watch. Did they mean to make
I don't
it
think
odd?
so.
Like,
With
what-
the girl singing in the back of the canoe when they first got, like, they literally just ran from a priest that's been chasing them. They get into the water and she starts singing, but it's not even her voice. It's like an older woman's voice. It's just so weird. Like, and it felt like it was like, okay, this is the creepy scene now, like, be as creepy as you can.
Yeah, that's true. I liked that they put the money in the teddy bear. That felt kind of
Yeah.
like clever. The kids running away. The underwater shot of the mom in the car.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
That was insane, dude. That gave me
that
chills.
felt like higher. That felt like that's where they pulled out all the stops just for that scene.
I know.
And like even
But
the
I
boat,
feel like
the boat and him
the
looking
director turned around and went, production value. Just gave like a fist pump and like,
Yeah.
this is
It
so
is
cool. It's gonna look
crazy.
so good in my demo reel.
Was it all? It wasn't all on a stage, was it? No. Like, the water couldn't have been, but it still felt like a
The
stage.
water scenes, I read somewhere that at least the ones where he kind of chases the kids out into the water were on a stage, so maybe the whole
That would
thing
make
was, I don't know.
sense because it kind of felt all stagey.
The water scenes, like, did you notice that the hills, like, there'd be a curvature of a hill and then it was perfectly lit from behind? It didn't seem like it was like just a normal, like an exterior shot. It seemed like it was a stage with, like a set piece behind it.
Yeah, like
Or
the
it felt like
silhouettes of the
a
hills
stage.
behind them. You mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Which is kind
So I
of
think that it might
cool.
have
Like, if you
been-
did something like that now, like, all on a stage and just played within that,
That'd be so expensive.
it'd be kind of cool. Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
whatever.
But it's for
Just
movies.
for fun.
It'd be cool.
Jason, I still think though that you're I mean, I feel like this movie was very experimental away from those films that you did mention, like Sunset Boulevard, and I kind of see what you're saying too though, because when I think of Sunset Boulevard, I think of this epic, like, super well done, like, should stand up through all of time type film. And this one I can kind of see, like, it feels like it's
No
way
way,
more
Jose.
experimental. You don't think Sunset Boulevard should?
I actually think Sunset Boulevard's a really good thing to compare it to, because Sunset Boulevard,
No, it's not even a
Was-
horror film.
neither is this.
This is a horror film, and it's an experimental horror film. Like, come on. How do you not see that? Like, any experimental filmmaker today, this dude was doing the same thing that they're doing today, and you're shitting on their movies today. Like, the same thing happened to him. People hated it, so he stopped. He didn't make another movie in his whole life.
This director.
Yeah, Charles Laughton. And
They laughed
he
him out
makes
of
this
there.
masterpiece. He makes this absolute masterpiece
They
that should be
laughed him out of the
worshipped from the
industry.
mountains.
They just laughed him out.
No, he was actually a very successful theater actor and an actor in movies and a theater director, I should
Interesting.
say. So he
I wonder
actually
if he was doing it the same time as Citizen Kane.
maybe he did have an uncredited directing role in a movie he was like in, like acting in, but prior to this. This is his only directing credit, but interesting. Anyways, he like went back to theater after this for the rest of his days. Oh, I shouldn't laugh because he was like the OG experimental filmmaker, guys. Come on.
He was? Like that's how he's viewed? Or you're saying that? You're just claiming that right now.
That's how I am viewing him. I'm
Well,
claiming.
I wonder
I'm making
that too.
bold claims here, guys.
My wonder has always been the same: is if he was experimenting or he just made some mistakes. I don't know. What cave?
Yeah.
I hope it was
build up. Like,
experimenting.
what were the good things? List them out for us. What was like the scenes that was good? What was happening? What was working? Because we could have just forgot.
Well, what's wrong with the story? The story's fine. Besides, like and actually, my criticisms are with the story where I think, and why I kind of mentioned it was a book was because sometimes it felt like it just went off the rails for a second. Like the riot scene. I get that people would riot, but it just felt like,
Yeah.
And they were screaming Bluebeard, like we're supposed to know who the heck Bluebeard is.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Who was Bluebeard?
Exactly. And that's where I think like they were kind of pulling.
Exactly.
Exactly, he says.
I think that.
Whose side are you on, dude?
No, I'm just saying that there was a moments, and as much as I appreciated the long like dreamlike river sequence, and when they're like falling asleep under that beautiful moon, like I felt like that kind of was like, okay, this movie would be a lot better if it just skipped right through that and went right to the Lillian Gish, Miss Cooper part of the story where she takes them in. But I don't know. Yeah, and then the ending was a little a little out there. I mean, her final like lines were and obviously like trying to say something. I'm gonna try to pull up the quotes.
children making it through or whatever.
Yeah.
Those lines.
Like, children abide. They survive. Okay, I'm gonna
Children
look up the quote.
What is the?
I think I wrote it
It
down.
was so good.
She was like, "Lord, save the little children. The wind blows and the rains are cold, yet they abide. They abide and they endure." Like that. That's out there.
Was she looking in the lens?
Just when
at
you
that
have
point?
kids, can you please just say that to your kids and see how they react?
Yeah. But what's funny is even with that, like Lillian Gish was the one I mentioned at the end of last episode as like this. She was a legendary actress. Like, and she was already getting
that
old
lady
at this point.
It
was that lady.
Okay.
So she's like one of like the first actresses in motion picture ever. Like D.W. Griffith kind of brought her into all of his first films, like from the beginning. Anyways, she was. So you could tell like they treated her a certain way on camera, you know, like they gave her these weird glowing close-ups, and I get that was a thing back then. Like a lot of ladies and actresses had in their contract to be lit certain ways or whatever. Like that was a thing.
Interesting.
It's kind of funny how like Lillian Gish comes up in the movie and all of a sudden she's getting all these weird like glowy close-ups that and like monologues that just felt, you know, it felt like they were doing it just for her because she's like this legend. But I don't know if you guys caught that.
Well, wait, are you arguing for the movie now or against it?
No, I have criticisms of this movie, guys, but I have a great appreciation for this
Prove
movie
it.
too.
Prove it.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. All right.
Okay.
I appreciate it in film history. I
can too. I'm not gonna. I don't disagree. I can appreciate it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I like how it feels so bold for that day and that time, and it feels so experimental for that time. And I would, you know.
So was the experimental parts like showing the animals, like was that like showing the random animals? I'm trying to think what was experimental. Like the glowing faces at the beginning would have been, right?
Yeah, maybe that song that they played before that too. That was like in the lyrics. It was like Fear is only a dream, so dream, little one, dream. What the heck, dude? Those are some dark lyrics.
That's so funny.
So, I've been like reading essays, desperately searching for. Could someone please tell me why this is good?
Like right now, you're doing
my
it right
question.
now.
That's how I'm asking
as we
Google.
speak?
Excuse me, Google. Pardon me, Google. Could you tell me why this movie's supposed to be good? But they're largely due to its genre-defying dialectical properties that bring together the edgy with the earnest. A blending of styles ahead of its time.
Okay.
So it was, I think it was purposefully experimental, not accidentally, Caleb, which kind of
That's good to hear.
maybe answers your question.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of loosey goosey to me. Like it was experimental, but the experiment didn't work.
It didn't work.
Like
it only
when you
influenced
try to
the
bake
whole
a cake and
genre of films for
and
the
that
next
cake
50
kind of
years.
like just deflates in the oven. That's what it felt like.
But then that deflated cake goes on to influence millions of people in over 50 years of film.
I heard you the first time when I was talking over you.
Okay.
I had to pound it into your. Let's talk about some of the dialogue in this movie, guys. Like, I wrote down some quotes. I'm just gonna fire them off because I love them so much.
Bring them on.
There's a moment where the preacher's convincing the people at the ice cream shop. So he's like convincing them that Willow had left like a note and left town. And he said that he's like, I burned the note and it stank of hellfire as he burned it, which I just loved.
Yes, that's right.
He says in that same scene, that was like the scene I started to write down quotes because I loved it. But in that same scene, he's like, I tried to save her, but the devil wins sometimes. And then, when John finally is like, hey, I'll tell you where the money is, but he's like really planning to trick him in the basement. Harry responds with, well, now, John might just make it to heaven yet, which I love. And then when he locks, John like escapes from the basement, and it's after that cringy scene where he's holding his hands out, running up the stairs after him. He yells after them and he says, open that door, you spawn of the devil's own strumpet.
The devil's own what?
The devil's own strumpet.
Strumpet? What is a strumpet?
I don't know, but that's what
I'm curious. I'm looking this up.
Good, because maybe it was a spelling error in the subtitles. But
a female prostitute is a strumpet. A woman who has many casual sexual encounters or relationships.
Open the door. Oh, so the mom.
Really?
The mom was. He's calling their mom, a prostitute.
A strumpet.
Yeah,
because that was the house of a strumpet.
That makes him the devil. What an idiot. The other one I had was that he when he finally tracks them down again, the kids, and like Lillian Gish kind of catches on, or sorry, Miss Cooper kind of catches on that he's what he's after, and like kicks him off her property with a shotgun. He screams, the Lord God Jehovah will guide my hand in vengeance. You devils, you whores of Babylon. It's like he hops on his horse and just like rides off. Good stuff.
I love the scene. I actually really love the scene where he is outside ominously singing, and then Mrs. Cooper starts singing like a secondary part to the song. Like I definitely thought that was kind of cool. Like she's like, I hear you and I'll raise you a harmony, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, I think that actually brings up, I think, a lot of the theme of this movie is kind of, or what I was catching on to was it felt like this preacher character kind of weasels his way into John's life and wrecks it, but he's also some sort of influence of religion in John's life, to the point where once like later on in the movie, the first time like Miss Cooper is having Bible stories with the kids, he like has to leave the room because he's like that turned off to religion at that point. and she kind of like becomes this redeeming character to him for religion, you know? It felt like Miss Cooper was kind of like the opposite influence of who the preacher was in the movie, like represented everything, like what was
Like
really
how to
good
call
and
it.
true about religion and about God
Hmm.
versus, and they made a big deal about the false prophet thing at the beginning. So like clearly they were trying to call the preacher like a false prophet, but
Right.
I thought that stuff was interesting, and I think it makes the harmony, like when she starts harmonizing with him in the song, it makes it a little bit more interesting because you have these two very different worldviews that are have both influenced this one character, and he has to kind of like deal with both. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
And children should abide and endure. I really liked how he kind of just like dumps the money on him in the end too, because it felt like he finally gets rid of like
I love
the
when
preacher is.
I love when the kid doesn't like what he's singing. Like he like, my heart. Like he did it with his dad, and then he goes,
yeah.
He's like, I'm having a heart attack.
What
Take
what happened to the money?
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure the police like took it and put it back to the bank or something.
Probably.
Lack of exposition, Jason. It was so edgy back then.
Well, you just want to be spoon fed, Jason?
Oh my God. Go make a movie and then come back to me with an opinion.
I'm surprised you didn't say this one was gluttonous. That's your go-to.
No,
bro.
like I don't think this movie was gluttonous. I think it was lacking. It was like anorexic, I guess.
Anorexic for sure.
Anemic. Oh, there we go.
Who's anemic?
I actually thought the weird parts were cool. I wish that they would have pushed the boundaries with everything. Like it didn't seem like it was. It seemed like it was weird every like 12 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. That's probably because it was opening up doors for the future, I guess.
True. I was really enjoying the odd stuff in it, and I'm like, well, like just go all the way, and that's what it felt like. It felt like it wasn't going there, and I also realized for the experimental nature of the movie, I don't think that's what was really affecting my judgment, because there were a lot of other movies in that day that were kind of experimental that I felt like successfully flowed. This didn't flow for me. It felt like it was trying to be
names of these
experimental every
movies
once in a while.
in a list form so I can go through and watch them all. All right.
Oh, they're
the one. That one. And then there's also this one. He's calling your bluff right now, Jason. He thinks you're full of it. I'll be the mediator now because I have nothing else to say. Will thinks that you're a liar, Jason. That's what's happening right now. He's trying to call
The
your
Dark
bluff.
Tower. Go watch The Dark Tower.
Oh, you mean that new Stephen King flick with Idris Elba?
Listen, just because you go to your favorite DP's like film list doesn't make you educated.
So you want us to watch The Dark Knight? Is what you're saying?
Film list?
No.
I don't know what film list is.
Maybe me. That was me that has that list. Not Will. You guys, your fights.
Hey, I'm down to watch anything.
I'm just over here just trying to keep the peace. I don't know what you guys are up to.
Well, no, like it's a serious discussion. I think that like I think you're throwing away my view of the film because you think that I'm against anything that's edgy. When the exact opposite.
No, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. I just am trying to get you to see it for what it is in film history at that time. Like, I don't think it was like anything else from that time. And I feel like you're trying to say that there are other movies that did what this movie did, but way better in that time. But I don't think you've mentioned any. So I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to get
I
names.
gave you a list.
No, you said Sunset Boulevard and Double Indemnity, which I know Sunset Boulevard isn't a horror film or experimental.
Okay, if we're gonna get down to business, this wasn't a horror film. It was a suspense, or
a thriller.
Could be classified as thriller, which is far away from a horror film. Actually, has to have other elements in it to be a horror film. This
Like
could
what?
be classified as a suspense film, like suspense or thriller. Those two things.
Why can't? Sorry,
But
I'm more as the outsider here. Why? What aspects does it need to have to be a horror?
Where are you seeing where it calls it a horror film?
No. He's just saying his experience with it was that it was a horror film, and you're saying that there was aspects missing that would make it a horror film. I'm just wondering what was missing that would make it a horror film?
Well, I don't know what elements are making it a horror film.
This mentally ill preacher is like stalking kids for the money the secret that they know. That's creepy. That's horrific.
Like, I don't know. I think that there has to be like an element of, for a horror film, like it seems like a crime suspense film to me, where it's about a murderer.
I'll
who's on
agree
the
with you
run.
that it's probably more of a thriller film than it is a horror film, but I would classify this as a horror film because I think its use in thriller and suspense throughout the movie feels like what became horror over the next 75 years. And that's why I'm even praising this movie at all, probably.
Right.
Apart from its cinematography and characters. Either way, I would genuinely, Jason, because I love you, my friend, I would genuinely like you to send me a movie or two to watch during this time.
You already said Dark
and
Knight.
I will watch them. The Dark Knight. You said Dark Tower, right?
No.
I already wrote it down.
Well,
and I will watch it.
That discussion, we were talking about noir films of the 1940s and 50s. So as far as like experimental films, so the discussion about experimental films kind of came after that discussion. So I don't really know what the experimental films of that day were. Okay. So I think you're trying to call me on something that I wasn't actually claiming.
Well,
but this is,
hey, it's recorded.
Like this
and
is,
we will see.
I just like that I'm not involved right now. This is fun. Okay, as a third party observer, I think that I think he's calling you on for what you were saying, Jason. I think you were saying that it didn't stack up to what was. We were all going easy on it because the movies of that day, we thought maybe this was good for its time, and you're saying it wasn't. So you were comparing it to movies.
No,
of its time.
I'm saying that my opinion of this movie, like the disjointed nature of the movie based on other films that were made during the time, it doesn't really stack up. Like it was just, there was odd acting. There was odd choices. I like the weird, edgy parts of the movie. You know, the singing, the scene where he actually murders the girl, where Lillian Gish is like kind of taking care of the kids and sitting in the rocking chair, and the singing portion. I love all that stuff, and it could have been experimental for its day, but comparatively to the quality of the other films that were being made during that day, to me it's not a very successful film, and that's all right. But to just put that in the category of like it's an edgy film and you don't understand edgy is kind of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm just giving you my opinion.
I think most people
comparison
agree
of
with you,
these
Jason.
films.
Yeah,
I
think that most people agree with you, and that's why it's been so like such a polarizing film over the past since it was made. Like, because really, why are we even talking about it still? Right?
Oh, we're talking about it because you picked it.
You picked it for the film discussion.
But also, why are
Just
like
being a jerk.
and we're talking about it? Yeah, you're being a jerk.
Yeah, I think the weird parts of it were my favorite parts for sure. If it just pushed more into those, it would have been awesome. But it probably just couldn't.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I would agree. Because when it was like they first started showing like the shot of the frog, I was like, ooh, where is this going?
You perked up.
And then they just kept showing different animals. There was like they showed a fox, showed an owl.
My favorite was before they showed the fox, there was like this really obscure noise and you weren't sure what kind of animal screamed, and then you had to wait for it a little bit, and then it was a fox. Okay,
maybe it's kind of like because that would have been like animals were kind of scary or something, like they're out in the wilderness, they're alone or something.
Actually,
what is this movie known for? Like, what are the iconic elements of the film?
Cinematography for sure. I know that Robert Mitchum's character.
But like, what in
acting,
particular of the cinematography?
I know the porch scene.
What were the revolutionary
the
aspects
porch
of it?
Scene with that I already kind of mentioned with the candle, and that scene with the underwater scene is something I see talked about. There's that haunting, showing her in the car underwater.
Is that what it like? Are these the things that it's known for? Yeah,
that's stuff I see like people talking about. But despite what I think about it, even take my perspective out, it has an 8 out of 10 stars on IMDb. It's talked about. The reason why I picked it, like I said, every once in a while I just see it come up in articles and film magazines, whatever. People talk about it, and maybe that's just because people who grew up kind of in the later days, maybe it affected them more, and it's maybe it's more of a nostalgic thing that they kind of held on to it and kept going back to it.
I'm seeing like Roger Ebert is talking about like it being one of his favorite films. Like there's a ton of people saying that, like huge film critics saying it's their favorite film. I'm just, when I read their stuff, I'm not actually seeing much of an explanation except for like a generalized explanation or a broad strokes explanation. I got to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, gonna have to do a little bit more research there. That's all.
I haven't done as much. I haven't done as much research as you before the podcast.
I came prepared, all right. I knew you were gonna hate it. I'm just kidding.
I can tell.
No, I just was intrigued. I was intrigued of the historical aspect, so I spent some time digging into it.
I think when I think of movies from this time, a lesson that I would pull from this, if we want to kind of go into that area, like dusters or like cowboy movies from this time that just were filmed on location, like on horses and stuff, like not on stages as much, just aged so much better. I think there's that, like, I don't know, like doing the car scenes. Car scenes always were awful. Like even in Seinfeld, like the screen behind, it's just that fine line of making simpler movies without not the very top of what special effects can be is, I think, in general, a wise thing to take from films. Because the cowboy movies from this era just feel great. They feel awesome.
It was just like nature.
There was
and
no
horses.
need to use a special effects. Yeah, it was nature. And that's what I feel currently about like our whole special effects. Such a big deal right now is that I always get super nervous with special effects, that it moves so quickly that everyone knows you're watching special effects, and then the people looking back are just gonna laugh at those movies. You're always safe just to get out of studio, just film something on location somewhere. I don't know.
Well, anyways, let's stop distracting from this precious film of mine that I love so much, The Night of the Hunter. You guys are just trying to rob this whole episode from me.
Much like the young boy was robbed of his father's relationship for the whole movie.
No, I'm kidding. But maybe now's the time to kind of wrap up with our final stars. Or do you feel like you need to say anything else about it? I don't know. Is there any takeaways that you have?
That was my takeaway, what I just said. So yeah,
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like my takeaways are, I don't know. I liked the experimental, the portions of it that were seemingly purposefully experimental. That's my takeaway, is experimental. You kind of got, yeah, I guess that's my takeaway. You kind of got to go all in or nothing, you know? Like, I really wish that they would have gone all in on this one. But, you know, for the day, it's probably pretty out there. But, like, watching it is just kind of like, oh, you could have done a lot more of this weird stuff. That's what I would say. And my stars, what did I give it? A 2? I'd probably stick with a 2. What was yours, Caleb?
I think I said 3.
Yeah.
2, like 2.5 is 50%. So I was like, no, it's not. Like a 2 is rather low. That's the hard thing about 5. I think I'm just gonna stick with 3, and if you guys send me an article that really lays out why it was so important, then I can change it.
Yeah, send it to me too. I'd be interested.
I think that my number is lower because characters just changed way too quickly. I just didn't understand every other character other than the preacher, really. Everyone else just seemed very random to me. The boy was seemingly consistent, except for when the police arresting his fake dad, he still melted or like had it hurt his heart. That felt kind of random. Yeah. 3 out of 5. Will, what are your takeaways from this precious movie?
This precious film.
From your precious.
This precious gem.
My takeaways: Lord, save the little children. The wind blows and the rains are cold, yet they abide. They abide and they endure.
It's true that children do abide.
So precious, dude. I'd take away. I would, if I ever were to make a movie with a super interesting, complex villain, I would watch this movie. Cinematography is amazing. I mean, I don't know what to do with film noir. I mean, you watch it and you're like, this is incredible. Like, how do you take film noir cinematography and use it today? I think you just, and I'm kind of processing this as I say it, but I think it's just like realizing how to use just light and darkness to like tell the story.
I think the distinction now with film noir style has almost become not as big of a deal because everyone with digital, you need such minimal light that so many
Right.
movies go to silhouette and so many movies go to like contrasty cut. It just feels, I don't know, movies aren't as high key anymore in general, or like
Mhm.
trendy stuff, especially like commercial world, Vimeo land, everything's silhouettes.
Right.
So that's why I feel like with film noir, it's like maybe film noir's impact on cinematography is way bigger than we think. It's almost the norm now. I don't know. I think about like Sicario, or I think about, I don't know, if I talk about Deakins, lots of his movies. There's some stuff he pulls from.
Yeah, I guess it just looks different when you add color in 8K.
Well, yeah, especially film noir is such a cultural thing, you know, like
It really was, right?
especially with the smoke in the background, like the fog, and
Mhm.
like those were just like random smoky scenes in film noir movies, and the low key lighting and the really harsh shadows. You know, I'm not sure if they'll play as well. I know that they've done like Brick is kind of a modern film noir, but it was more of the style, like the mystery style of noir.
Even Brick though is so old now.
I love
It's like
Brick.
kind
Oh
of,
yeah, it is.
you
What,
know,
2006 or
Yeah.
something like that?
I love.
You're right though, yeah.
Brick would be considered a neo noir, I guess. Maybe because, well, Blade Runner is considered noir too. Like the new,
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
so it's like, I guess
True.
that's.
I would consider like, because I was trying to think of what would be considered kind of a, at least for the look, like cinematography wise, what's like modern noir look like. And I was, what came to mind was the Ozarks, if you guys are Ozarks,
Mm-hmm.
that TV show, going literally dark with everything. The light, like what light is there is just used so sparingly, I guess.
So maybe, yeah, because of where we're at in history, noir, like the same effect will look a little different
Yeah.
when it's executed.
It's an interesting conversation though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going out. I'm gonna say I'm gonna lower mine to 3.5 stars though, out of 5. I appreciate that
Sweet.
it's still kind of kicking around and being talked about here and there in current day. That's cool. It's good. It says something about it. But yeah, I think
Yep.
just duking it out with Jason on the 3 podcast, you know, just made me bring it down, and that's what this is all about.
Just
I don't mean
duking.
to be a downer. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. This is. I'm sorry if I went too hard on you, Jason.
Oh no, you're good, man.
Oh, you guys always apologize to each
I
other.
was having fun with it.
I love you, William. I just appreciate you so much.
I love you too, Jason.
I'm sorry if I said anything harsh.
Oh.
You know.
You know,
sorry.
that's what this is all about. We can have
Yeah,
honest film discussions
yeah.
and then make up
Love
for it in the end. Right here on the
I don't know.
3 podcast.
I don't know why Caleb gets so jealous when me and you like start to.
Well, I just find
Appreciate each
I'm
other.
more. I don't necessarily fully understand your guys' relational dynamic. So I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, what is the what role do you guys play in each
Love and
other's lives? I'm kind of like, I'm
appreciation.
saying, I'm noticing
Love.
We're friends.
that. No, but you guys will push, but then
Love and
like Jason just,
appreciation.
like you guys apologize to each other and they're courteous. I just don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Caleb, on this podcast, in the history of this podcast, I don't think I've duked it out with you really that harshly yet. So I would apologize to you if I felt like I pushed you too hard. Just being honest.
I'm the edgy one in this mix. I'm the one who goes against the grain. You know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. The square was kind of an indicator of something for you, Caleb.
The square was, but yeah, you guys didn't apologize to me. I'm still waiting. You
That's
guys,
what this is about.
you guys didn't say like, "Oh, I'm sorry," like we were wrong.
No one apologized to me for the square.
You guys didn't you guys haven't
You've
told me you were
apologized to
wrong
William
yet.
3 times now.
You guys haven't said you were wrong, and I'm just kind of waiting on an apology or something.
Hey, how good was it that we all agreed on Cold War last week?
That was really
That
good.
was amazing.
To change the subject.
I wasn't like choosing this movie hoping that it would happen because, you know, who knows? I had never watched it before. But deep down inside me, I was kind of hoping that we'd have another Cold War with this movie. But as soon as I watched it, I knew it wasn't.
Depends what Jason
happen.
picks for next week. Maybe we could have. It's either gonna go
Ooh.
either way, right? I like when people don't. It's better for the audience if we all don't agree.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Give the people who don't exist currently what they want.
exactly. All right. Should I tell you what the next movie is going to be?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason. What's the movie? What's the movie for next week, Jason?
So next week we're going to be watching the movie Good Time from the
fuck yeah.
Safdie brothers.
That's been on my
Have you
watch
seen it?
I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
a couple
cool.
times. Are you
couple
kidding me?
times? That should only be reserved for Mother.
Yeah. If I'm watching any movie 5 times, it's Mother. I still always. That's so funny. You'd already seen it twice. That was your 3rd time, and then you said, "Yeah, well, maybe I should watch it a couple more times to figure out what I think."
Yeah. It's a movie with great depth.
No.
Anyway, let's not get into Mother anymore. Come on.
Next week,
That's an old
Benny
conversation.
and Josh Safdie.
So are you guys gonna keep I think you guys should apologize one more time.
Yeah, we should. William, let's apologize to Caleb for this.
I actually don't want your apology. I don't want it.
Hey,
I
Caleb.
don't need it. Doesn't it's
Caleb?
water off a duck's back.
My friend.
William and I just want to apologize to you because
All right, you're getting ASMR. You're
You're
getting
a friend
ASMR. Okay, here it is.
we love you. We love you, and we appreciate you, and we just want to say we're sorry for our opinions of the square. Thanks for joining us on 3 the Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and join us next week for another film discussion hosted by Jason Solari, William Somero, and Caleb Ford.